was first made aware of the St. Olaf Choir when I was a sophomore in high school by my associate pastor at my church, who thought that hearing this choir would change my life. He was right. It's my 25th year as conductor of this choir. Every new year presents its own challenges, its own levels of excitement. So I'm excited to find a program that will reflect 25 years of leadership. And also, the St. Olaf Choir is not just a museum piece. It's a thriving, expressive musical organization. Music has always been part of the life of St. Olaf College. Actually, one of the original textbooks for the students back in 1874 was a hymnal. We date the formal beginning of the music department to the year 1903, when the then President John Kildall brought F. Melius Christiansen, a young Norwegian immigrant, to the college to actually conduct the band and formally organize the Department of Music. The origins of the St. Olaf Choir actually come out of F. Melius Christiansen's work as director of music at St. John's Lutheran Church, and was deeply concerned that the young Scandinavian immigrants were forgetting the great hymns of their forebears. And so he attempted to bring this back to life when he decided to take the St. Olaf Choir back to the homeland of so many of the St. Olaf community, back to Norway. That was an incredible trip in which they were greeted by hundreds of thousands of people at different ports. And that started this whole momentum that this choir could do something very distinctive and very unique. Nothing existed like this at that time. The work that the St. Olaf Choir did in its early years really gave energy for people developing a higher level of church music. And that tour really set the St. Olaf Choir on the map. I went to a college fair beginning my senior year, and the then director of admissions, Bruce Smo, was sitting there like the Maytag repairman without any business. Might you be interested in this place? And he said, do you know anything about us? And I said, you know that choir that wear those funny purple robes, right? And we talked a little bit more, and I finally said, well, how many black people do you have going to school there? And he said, you'd make one more.
Unless we live according to our creed.
Creed. Yeah, and then don't go out for a smoke. Get back in there. Creed and.
Creed and show our faith by word.
I rather think of choral tone as more of a tapestry and mosaic. Everybody has their own weave. We have to agree to the same vowel shapes. We have to agree to the same dynamics, articulations. I'm looking for a sound that has all of individuality that each person can bring, but that we agree that together we're going to find a common point of unity in all those areas. And when that happens, you have this incredible uniformity of sound, and that's what the St. Olaf Choir has been known for throughout the years. I think part of the St. Olaf Choir success is that there's been this long continuity in both the musical leadership and the managerial leadership. The first conductor, F. Melius Christiansen, his son, Olaf Christiansen, and Kenneth Jennings. And then I assumed leadership of the choir in 1990. We've each been a student to the previous conductor. Beyond the obvious racial difference between my predecessors and myself, they were all very gifted composers. I'm not a gifted composer. Because I don't have the time or the talent to write good music, I go out and find those people literally from global community who can offer their great works. So I think one of the great innovations, and certainly throughout my tenure, but in my early years, was to start doing literature that had not, for the most part, been done before. Composition has long been taught at St. Olaf. We've had people really encouraging our young composers to write. So this becomes a wonderful place for young people to be inspired, to be mentored. In my tenure here, we've seen several composers, but I think one of the most prolific and one to gain now national, if not international recognition has been Abby Bettinas.
Dr. A is unique in that he has such a depth of technicality.
Designated full caesura, a full stopping, the S gets connected to the next word.
He has a great vocabulary for the choir in getting exactly precisely what he needs, where you can really feel the music. And a great conductor, I think, balances both, and he does that so beautifully.
Abby has always been special to me in many ways. I had the delight of conducting her as a member of the St. Olaf Choir. She is a talented and gifted musician and composer, but she's also a strong woman because she has, at a very young age, she has battled cancer. She has battled cancer at several different times in her life. And I think each time she comes back stronger as a human being, and I think even more committed to share the gifts that she has.
The St. Olaf Choir has a long tradition of celebrating the work of composers in the St. Olaf family and also composers around the world. That keeps the sound fresh.
St. Olaf College has had a long history with the country of Norway. We were founded by Norwegian immigrants, but a special tie also to the state church in many ways. The embodiment of that state church is the Nidaros Dome, the Nidaros Cathedral.
It's fantastically amazing. It's beautiful.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Nidaros.
We were going to Norway in 2013 to celebrate the end of the centennial activities. That was 100 years from that very first tour that F. Melis Christiansen embarked on with the choir.
I want you to meet the composer even when he is silent. This is Kim Andre Armstrong.
During the 9th World Symposium in Choral Music in Argentina, I first encountered the music of Kim Andre Arnesen, a young Norwegian composer, when the Nidaros Cathedral Girls Choir performed at that event. And since that time, I've become very acquainted and have had the delight to perform the music of Kim Andre Arnesen.
It has become really one of the highlights of our concert.
Thank you.
And people have talked about it. Just means you know.
Thank you. I'm very looking forward to hearing you sing it.
Kim Andre is a very sensitive soul if you meet him, and that's reflected in the music. Here's another example of finding a talent out there and being able to share, and that's part of what I think St. Olaf College is about. You know, it's a search for knowledge and truth, and you share that throughout the world. Well, I would say each conductor has tried to leave the choir healthier than he found it, whether it's in repertoire, whether it is in performance practice, whether it is possibly where we tour. Innovation has to be present, otherwise this great ensemble will die. And so part of what I hope my part of the mosaic of the tapestry will be as high art from a global perspective, but also one which says, how can the choral arts serve a wider community?